So, you probably clicked on this video because you want to know more about Temtem. And that's probably because you're a Pokemon fan and it intrigues you because there are a lot of similarities between these two games. Of course, Pokemon has dominated this kind of game genre for the past 20 years, being a giant against all other competitors. But Temtem is definitely a breath of fresh air and a new indie game that could somewhat be a competitor to the huge franchise. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at which is better, Temtem or Pokemon. Of course, if you're excited for this video, please drop a like down below, make sure to subscribe with notifications on, and leave a comment down below. What do you like more, Temtem or Pokemon? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. With all of that out of the way though, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you enjoy. So, to start things off with, let's take a look at one of the biggest differences between Temtem and Pokemon. Temtem is of course an MMO. You are going to be surrounded by a bunch of players doing the exact same thing as you, catching Temtem, leveling them up, evolving them, and doing the story, whereas Pokemon is definitely more of a single player game. However though, with the addition of the wild area in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, just like Temtem, you can see other players doing their own thing in their own game, which is of course something brand new to the Pokemon franchise. Anyway, back to Temtem. It is definitely a heavily focused multiplayer game. One of the huge factors is that you can do co-op and play through the whole game. Everything is also a double battle as well, so it definitely gives you that feel of Pokemon Colosseum, which was of course a very much loved game in the Pokemon franchise. Another huge difference between these two games is that the Temtem follow you around. Now of course Pokemon has had this before, but it's been taken away unfortunately in recent titles. You probably remember it being a thing in Pokemon Heart Gold and Pokemon Soul Silver. It seems to me that Temtem have definitely taken a look at what the fans want in Pokemon and implemented that into their own game, which is very smart to be fair. I mean, it's only gonna get a good reaction. Now the next huge difference between Pokemon and Temtem is of course the battle mechanics. Now in Pokemon, as we all know, you are allowed up to 4 moves, and each of those moves have their own PP stat, and of course when you've used all that PP, you can't use that move anymore. What this has unfortunately led to are players just constantly spamming the same move all the way through the story because it's their strongest one and it makes the Pokemon games relatively easy. That is not the case in Temtem. It has taken a completely different approach to how you battle your enemies in this game. Instead of having the moves with PP, you actually have a mana bar, and each move has a mana cost that will take away from your mana bar after you've used that move, which basically stops you from spamming your strongest move over and over again, making the game again more difficult than Pokemon. Not only that, but if your mana bar reaches 0 and you're still trying to use an attack in Temtem, it will actually make you damage yourself in recoil. So to get around that, what you have to do is wait a turn, allowing your opponent to attack you for free. So there's a lot more strategy that goes into what moves to use and when to use them in Temtem as opposed to Pokemon, where you can just keep spamming the same attack over and over again. Of course, Pokemon has a huge competitive front as well with IVs and EVs, and that has also been implemented into Temtem. You can breed for stronger Tems, and you can also put different EVs into different stats to make the Temtem as strong as possible. The similarities of these games is that you're basically on an adventure, you're trying to create the best team possible and beat the game with them, with loads of different creatures to capture and train and evolve and level up, which is a really good premise, hence why Pokemon has done so well. I think this is some very healthy competition for Pokemon. I think Temtem is going to be a very good game, and just seeing that it is an indie game, the actual day of release it got incredibly overwhelmed with how many people had purchased this game that the servers were just going all kinds of crazy, which is only really a good thing for the game. The servers will be sorted out in at least a couple of days, and whilst that's happening, more and more people will be hearing about this game, and I think it's going to be very healthy competition. The game looks really nice, it's very smooth, and apart from the server issues, doesn't really have any negative feedback so far. Something that I also love about this new game is the catching mechanics. So of course, in Pokemon, we're just used to throwing a Pokeball, and then it has the same animation, it rolls once, twice, 3 times, and then a couple of stars will shoot up out of the ground to basically tell you that you've caught the Pokemon. In Temtem, it's a little bit different. What you have to do is throw the card at the monster, and then it will swivel round the monster going from top to bottom, and then will catch it, as you can see on your screen right now. Not only that, you can actually see the monster caught in the Temtem card before it locks down and gives you the monster, which I think is a really cool, unique animation that Pokemon definitely need to implement into their own games, because it's just a cool little thing to see when you have caught the monster. Now, another reason that Temtem is a much more difficult game than Pokemon is because there is a lack of XP share in this game. You are going to be doing a bunch of grinding in this new indie game. I played the alpha, I played all the way up to the first dojo and defeated it, and I can honestly not stress how difficult it was just to do that. The amount of times our Temtem fainted was crazy, to say that we were at the start of the game. But again, this is also another good feature about this game. A lot of people complain about how easy Pokemon is, but that is because Pokemon is, at the end of the day, aimed towards a younger audience. They don't want to make a really difficult game because it would put kids off playing it. Temtem is on the other end of the spectrum. It's definitely targeted towards an older audience, which is why the game is a lot more difficult, and I feel like it has a lot more strategy in the battles, especially with the mana bar. But that also means that you're not going to smash your way through the game easily. You actually have to think about some of the things you're doing and not just hit the strongest attack every single time. Because Temtem is an MMO, there are also a bunch of side quests that you can do throughout the game as well, which are very, very handy, because you will be getting some very good items that you can equip onto your Temtem upon completing the quest, which are very, very useful. There's a quest that you can do in the first dojo which gives you a item that basically resists water damage by 20% or something like that, which is something you're gonna need on the first dojo. Trust me, it is difficult. Of course, Pokemon does have their own little side quests as well, but they're pretty rare to find, and they're not really going to give you too much good stuff from doing them. Usually it's just a little cutscene that isn't really going to change your life all that much. Now, of course, Temtem has been able to make itself look as good as it does because it doesn't have as many monsters as Pokemon does. Pokemon has over 900 creatures now that it can implement into their games, and I know with Pokemon Sword and Shield we only saw 400 of these, but they of course had to Dynamax all of them and do all the models for that. We also have the DLC coming out, being the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, which is going to include 200 extra mons. So a lot of effort has to be put into those. With less monsters, such as Temtem has, they obviously can put more time into different aspects of the game. But more Temtem will be released throughout different patches, which we all know is going to happen. A huge feature about Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield though is the raid system. It was something new brought to these games, and it is something that has definitely made the multiplayer aspect of the 8th generation games multiplayer features much better than previous titles. You can raid with friends, you can raid with strangers. It's a really cool concept, and that is because it did so well in Pokemon Go. Raiding is something that Temtem could also implement into their game, but I don't think they're going to be doing it anytime soon. So if Pokemon just keep putting raids into their games, it will allow them to keep adding additional content and new Gigantamax forms and even new Pokemon, which to me is a very good step in the right direction. Now, I guess it does feel that I've been slating Pokemon quite a bit during this video, and that I've only been saying nice things about Temtem. But of course, that's not the case. I've been playing Pokemon since I was 5 years old, and it is my favorite franchise of all time. I don't think any game will ever knock Pokemon off its pedestal. It is huge, it is known worldwide, and it is clearly just a household name now. Temtem, at the end of the day, is just simply something brand new that offers us all the things that we wanted in the Pokemon games that we never got, such as monsters following us, a difficult game, side quests, an online that's incredible where you can see other people and play with your friends. Just all these different things that we always wanted in Pokemon but never seemed to receive. I definitely think Pokemon will look at Temtem and, maybe put a couple of their ideas in their own games at some point, but for now, Temtem, I really do hope, does continue doing as well as it does. I think it's a very, very good game, and I think it's going to have a decent lifespan. I think it's going to do really well, and like I say, they can only improve by adding more monsters, adding the islands, making everything just bigger in general. So yeah, Temtem at the end of the day is a really nice little competitor to Pokemon, but I don't think Pokemon's going to be going anywhere for the time being. I really do hope you did enjoy today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Temtem and Pokemon. What would you have to say about them? And if you did enjoy, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I'm going to be doing a bunch more Pokemon and Temtem content on this channel. That's everything from me though. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time,